All right, so welcome back to Film Shake. This is episode 9. I'm Jordan.
This is Nick.
And we're here to talk about Total Recall.
That's
from
right.
1990.
It's a recollection of a film. You know what I recall,
From our consciousness.
I recall that you lost at trivia last time.
Dang it.
And you had to watch Super Mario Brothers.
I was hoping you wouldn't remember and I could just slide on by. We could just talk about this Arnold Schwarzenegger flick, but...
Every morning since then, I've gotten down on my knees and praised.
Praise the good Lord.
That's right. That you lost and had to watch this.
So yeah, if anybody doesn't remember Super Mario Brothers from 93, and for those who don't recall, the synopsis of this film involves the meteorite that destroyed the dinosaurs. What if?
Just like in the original Super Mario Brothers game.
Exactly like that game. But what if the meteorite didn't destroy all the dinosaurs 65 million years ago? It actually created a parallel universe where dinosaurs lived and evolved into human-like creatures with the similar intelligence of humans, and they live in a dusky, dank, swamp-ridden Manhattan filled with fungus and strippers.
See, this was the plot, part of the plot of Tetris. They just melded the plot of Tetris, which you know is a Russian game, into the plot of Mario Brothers 1 for NES, and that was how they got the plot for the movie.
The parallel universes?
Exactly. That's what the falling blocks were all about.
And very much like the game as well, Mario is a balding older man, Bob Hoskins, played by Bob Hoskins, who's kind of angry and just completely out of his gourd. But John Leguizamo plays Luigi, who is into pseudoscience and conspiracy theories. And then there's also a Princess Daisy, not a Princess Peach for whatever reason, who has a magical amulet meteorite necklace that King Koopa, played by Dennis Hopper, needs to reunite the dimensions. I don't know. This is like a really kooky movie, and it's completely ridiculous, but I think that's one of its biggest letdowns is it could be so ridiculously fun and just absurd, but to me, it was such a slog. It was so boring at times, or just like I was having trouble staying awake, and I was really just feeling depressed and hating myself for having to watch this movie and losing trivia. So I decided to go and get a Cayman Jack out of the fridge just to kind of like, I don't know, maybe help this be more fun. And no, it wasn't fun, but it was fun when I discovered the trivia about the movie afterwards, that apparently Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo hated making this movie so bad that it drove them to drinking as well. So they were just, incoherent most of the time on set and completely drunk at times, which, could explain some things about the movie. But yeah, I was right there with him. I was like, yeah, if me just watching this makes me want to just go on a bender, I can only imagine having to make this movie. And apparently Dennis Hopper didn't have any better of a time, because he told his kid later on that he only made this movie so he could buy him shoes. I don't know if his kid needed shoes that bad, but this is one of the worst performances.
Gotta get them Air Jordans, buddy.
Any of these people, man. But apparently, it was like a great script. It was a lot more mature script by Oscar winner writer, and it attracted all these big stars. And then the studio decided it needed to be more family friendly. So that's where somehow, by making it more family friendly, you've got the dank, dirty Manhattan filled with fungus, with strippers and bouncing strippers, like a stripper that is a bouncer, or maybe she's not a stripper, but she's scantily clad. Either way, all this results in a really strange movie.
You've got psychobilly musician Mojo Nixon as Toad, which would have been my first choice for Toad. I don't know how they did that. Incredible.
No, apparently it was supposed to be Tom Waits. They wanted Tom Waits to play Toad, but they couldn't get Tom Waits. So they got him, and in his agent basically said, "Hey, he's like a third-rate Tom Waits for half the price," and that was his selling point. But yes, just like Toad, there's other Mario Brothers items like gently dropped throughout this film, that are Mario Brothers anomaly, where you've got the like Bob-omb and you've got, you know, the Thwomp boots and stuff.
The most terrifying Yoshi anyone has ever conceived.
you got the Yoshi who they tried to make like a cute little T-Rex, but yeah, he gets stabbed in the neck and then he tries to devour a lady's hand at one point. It's everything about this movie is scary in all the wrong ways. So.
Oh man, so
yeah,
it's
terrible.
My dear old mother. Oh, well, she's not.
1 out of 5.
1 out of 5.
Yeah.
She used to have days out with each of her 3 children, and you know I was the oldest, and I loved Nintendo so much, and Mario was my favorite. So of course, when they announced this film, I was ecstatic. I was so excited. My favorite thing was finally getting its own movie. I was so pumped, and I begged her to take me. Please, Mom, please take me to see the Mario Brothers movie. You know, the commercials came out, and I thought, well, that doesn't really look like Mario. Right. But they probably just messed up when they made the commercial and accidentally showed clips from the wrong movie.
Oh, sure, yeah.
When we go to the movie, it won't look like that.
That's not the blue sky, happy-go-lucky Mario that I know.
That's
no,
right.
It's Bob Hoskins.
So for all our old Baton Rouge listeners, we went to a Bon Marché theater on a weekday. We get there. The first sign that something is wrong, this was opening weekend. There were 2 other people in the theater. We didn't get there early. We got there right at the end of the last trailer. There was a couple in their early 20s making out on the front row, so we sat in the back to avoid them.
Right.
We were the only 2 people there. And
starting that family day with your mom off right.
That's right. And my poor mom, she tried to be nice and sit through this movie with me, and it was awful. And we both knew it was awful within 2 or 3 minutes. But she was a trooper. She sat it out with me, and I tried to like it, and it was so bad. And she even said, "Oh, that was okay" when it was over. But I didn't say it then, but I'll say it now. Sorry, Mom, for making you sit through 2 hours of that.
Right.
And it ruined video game movies forever.
Oh, forever, yeah. I feel like this movie cursed video game movies. Like you said, it's the first one that was ever adapted, and it got off on such a horrible foot here that they've just been terrible ever since. So
awful. The only good video game adaptation ever was the Castlevania anime on Netflix, which I just insulted so badly several shows ago, but they've made the only really, and not just good, it's great. It's one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that on the show, so
but
I feel like we should recommend that for people to go and watch instead. So if you have Netflix, go check it out.
Yeah, which it's also really dark and violent. But hey, unlike the Super Mario Brothers movie, there's no S&M clubs featured in the Castlevania anime. So
well, it's like you've got the S&M clubs and all this like weird like Blade Runner type.
It's like a Matrix movie,
like imagery.
The third Matrix movie, not even the first one.
Right. You've got all this weird, dark imagery, but then you've got the slapstick jokes that just don't land.
Boing.
All the weird sound effects, like the kookiness that they try to. Obviously they made the sets and they had written the movie to be more mature and dark. And then, like, the studio started backpedaling and saying, like, no, we've got to...
I'm taking some Tums right now. I'm getting heartburn just thinking about this.
They're like, no, we've got to make this more friendly and add in just, like, apparently there was rewrites on the sets every day.
I still think this whole thing was a fever dream. I can't believe it was real.
Oh, just like in Total Recall.
Whoa.
Was that an intentional segue? But yeah, so Super Mario Brothers, it's not a movie that it's like, oh, it's so bad that it's funny. It just really was terrible.
And there's a small group who are dedicated to this film.
I know. There's apparently an archive, like a website for those fans.
What are you doing with your life? I mean, no offense. I mean, that's cool that you found something that you're into that much. So I'll take back the what are you doing with your life. Good job. Nice work.
Good job. You got something going for you.
Yes.
But I mean, that something is a terrible movie, so I don't know how far that lands you.
It's a complete celluloid disaster.
It really is.
I'm gonna give it a 0. I'll give it the same score that I gave that bad Netflix movie that you made me watch.
Yeah, it's rough. So thank you again for assigning that to me on the trivia battle.
That's right. You're welcome, Jordan, and sorry, Mom.
And we'll have a trivia battle like we always do at the end of the show today, and we'd like to tease that whoever loses this trivia battle will be forced to watch the 2012 Total Recall remake.
That's right, made by cinematic genius Len Wiseman.
What did he do?
He made 27,000 Underworld movies.
Oh, he's the Underworld guy.
That's
Wow.
right. He cast his wife, Kate Beckinsale, in all of those, and he also cast her in this Total Recall remake.
Oh,
so
jeez. Yeah.
hopefully you'll be watching it and not me.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully
Man.
I'm going to send you on a losing streak.
All right. So we'll move on to Total Recall. So this is Nick's pick. So Nick, set up this 1990 sci-fi film for us.
Man, these Tums, I got the chewy kind. My sister turned me on to them. I used to eat the chalky ones, and they're really disgusting. But they take care of your heartburn. But these chewy ones are great.
Super Mario Brothers give you heartburn.
It really did. But it did not give me heartburn. Total Recall. Total Recall is a 1990 film directed by Paul Verhoeven, starring one of our favorite actors, I think mutually, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wouldn't even say one of our favorite actors. I'd just say one of our favorite
people.
personalities.
Yeah, he's just a personality.
That's right, in general. So this is based on a Philip K. Dick story, which I'll get into a little bit more later in the show, just a little bit. But to get into the plot, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's living in a future, an undisclosed date. We're not sure when.
Well, yeah, they don't say it in the film, but if you read about it, it says 2084. But yeah, I don't think it's ever disclosed.
Yeah, I finally swallowed that Tum, so I'm going to come at this more aggressively now. So, you know what? He has this dream that he's on Mars. It's a gnarly dream. It's this great red Martian landscape. And then some kind of freaky stuff happens, and he wakes up in a sweat next to Sharon Stone. What does Sharon Stone do? But ask him if he's having those silly nightmares about Mars again. And was that brunette with him again?
Mm-hmm.
She was. He's been having these dreams frequently. And he can't get Mars out of his head for some reason. But what's Sharon Stone doing? Trying to change the subject. He asked, can we move to Mars? Which kind of seems like a big deal, right? But
Right.
he asked her, this is kind of an amused, he always seems amused in this film. Schwarzenegger, he's just got this amused expression. Every line reading that he has in the entire film, whether he's angry, sad, happy, confused, it's amused.
He's just having a good time. He's just
That's
making
right.
this movie.
That's right.
He's
So-
got, half naked Sharon Stone wrapping her legs around him in the bed. So
Yeah, so after we fade away from their love scene and them at the dinner
Yeah.
table, let's do it. Let's move to Mars, and she's like,
Yeah.
no,
Which-
let's go on vacation somewhere else.
Right.
She's kind of strangely changing the subject because moving to Mars is really sudden, kind of an extreme move.
it's a extreme move. So,
But she seems like just a little even more extreme in changing the
Yeah,
subject. So something is
so it's a little off.
already.
Yeah. But I'm already asking, like, why does he want to move to Mars? Like, why? He's just kind of out of nowhere. Like, I had this dream, and now I want to move to Mars. So that felt a little out of place. But you find out later about his secret identity, his stolen
right.
memories, and everything.
That's right. So he goes to work, and it's like we're in the Flintstones all of a sudden because Arnie's got a jackhammer.
Oh, yeah.
It's just such a great showcase of his biceps.
Oh, for sure. They totally changed the character. Like, this movie was written 100 times before Verhoeven and Arnold Schwarzenegger signed
I think
on.
it was 42 scripts that they went through.
It's ridiculous.
David Cronenberg, I think, wrote like 40 of them.
Oh God. But yeah, he was like a mild-mannered, like insurance agent or accountant or something like that. And then of course Schwarzenegger wouldn't quite fit that bill, so they had to change him to a construction worker.
That's right. So now we're on a job site, and his biceps are a jiggling. But then all of a sudden he's got to shut his jackhammer off and ask his old buddy, "Hey, have you heard of Recall?" Because while he's on his ride to work in the morning, he sees a commercial for a company called Recall that can implant memories into your head. Because if he can't move to Mars, if old Sharon Stone isn't up for it, he can do the next best thing, and that's implant memories into his own mind that he has been to Mars.
Yes, everybody wants to do that, right? Just give yourself fake memories
That's
of a
right.
place you've never been to.
Of course.
That couldn't cause any problems.
So his buddy says, yeah, I've heard of that place. I heard about a guy that went there and it messed him up so bad he got a lobotomy. So what does Schwarzenegger do?
He goes.
He goes immediately.
Immediately, right after that conversation.
That's right. So Schwarzenegger, or Quaid, as he's known as at this
Quaid.
point in the film.
Yeah, but we're gonna call him Schwarzenegger, right? Like, he is Schwarzenegger. He's nobody but Schwarzenegger.
So
Come on.
Spoiler for what, I say spoiler. We're going to completely go through the plot of this film
Yeah, we're
and the
gonna
movie.
spoil it
But
completely.
spoiler alert, he's got multiple identities in this film.
Yes.
He's Quaid right now, but yes, you're right. He is Schwarzenegger the entire time.
But yeah, I guess we should distinguish between Quaid and his other personalities going forward. So yeah.
That's
Makes
right.
sense.
So smash cut between his buddy telling him, I heard that the last guy who went there had to get a lobotomy, to Schwarzenegger immediately walking into the recall headquarters to get some memory work done. So he walks into this building with this amazing architecture, and here's how we got here. Last show we covered The Chase, and we're a 90s film podcast, and we try to connect our films
movie
together.
connection time.
How do we get from The Chase to Total Recall? If you really look at the movies, try to find some connections with the cast, with the crew, there's not really anything. The budget or even the box office for The Chase wouldn't even pay for the catering at Total Recall.
Right. This is the most expensive movie made at its time.
That's right. That was the rumor.
Mm-hmm.
And they are two-word titles, Total Recall and The Chase. They both start with a T, and Total. That's not the connection, though. In The Chase, Charlie Sheen and Chrissy Swanson, where were they driving to?
Mexico?
And where are we filming for the entirety of Total Recall?
Mexico City.
That's right.
Ah, okay.
We're there. We
right.
drove there the entire Chase episode, and we've arrived.
We've arrived in the Mexico Mars. Yeah.
That's right, Mexico Mars. So we get to the recall headquarters, which most of this film, I don't think 100%, but I think the vast majority, probably at least approaching 90%, was filmed in Mexico.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of really cool Mexican architecture.
Right.
So the recall headquarters was shot, in some Mexico City buildings. So it just looked really gnarly. We get this really cool red tiled floor mixed in with some awesome set work. And we're in the recall headquarters. And it's time for some memory work. But this is a Schwarzenegger movie.
Yes.
Above anything else. This is a Philip K. Dick adaptation, but this is a Schwarzenegger movie.
Once he comes on board, I'm sure this whole thing was just reworked. So
if this wasn't a Schwarzenegger movie, we get this memory scene where they present some possibilities.
The different packages.
That's right. You could be a secret agent on Mars, which he says, yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah,
and
that one piques his interest.
Yes, and then they say, well, what kind of woman would you be interested in? And he gives his ideal woman.
Which is not Sharon Stone, notably. He wants a brunette who's sleazy but also demure.
That's right.
So Sharon Stone's just sleazy. She's got no demure about her.
That's right.
And she's not a brunette.
Sleazy. The way he says sleazy, too.
Oh, yeah, he's falling asleep at that point, right? When he's like putting him under.
Was sleazy even one of the choices?
Yeah, sleazy.
Was it sleazy word for word or a synonym for sleazy?
I'm pretty sure it was sleazy.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he just pulled that out of the air. He just had sleazy on the mind. But really, a lot of the plot points in this film would be unbelievable with anyone but Schwarzenegger, because they start to do this work on him, and he starts freaking out. He starts freaking out.
Yeah.
Come to find out, he's been to Mars before.
That's why he's having these dreams. Yeah, he really is a secret agent. But I think that's the greatness of this movie that teases, is this real or is this also part of the dream? Because it has that great scene great cut and setup where it goes from them implanting the memories, and then it cuts to the office of the salesman, and then they come in, they say, oh, he's freaking out, like something's gone wrong with the procedure, but maybe all that is a part of the dream.
That's right. And can I just tell you something? Philip K. Dick's We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, which was published in April of 1966, which this is based upon.
Right.
At this point in the film, we're almost following that beat for beat.
Okay.
Like they have stuck so close to it by this point.
But
even with Schwarzenegger, who I don't even think someone could imagine a Schwarzenegger existing in 1966, which he was alive, but he wasn't this Schwarzenegger at that point. He was still a little weakling compared to what he is now.
Right. I like your weakling there. Yeah.
That's right. So the recall folks realize, we got to get out of this guy's head and make him forget he ever came here. So they do.
They're going to lobotomize him.
Yeah, that's right. They scratch his memories and they send him on his way, and he wakes up in a Johnny cab. Could you describe a Johnny cab for me?
I would like to talk about Johnny cabs because, yeah, I feel like this spells out a grim future for the automated car.
This is what our old buddy who invented Tesla has in mind.
So yeah, he's driving around in this Johnny car. You know, they're gonna dump him in a Johnny car, as they say. And he's sitting in the back, and there's like, I don't know, it looks like a robot cab driver of Don Knotts that is driving around, talking to him, spinning around its head, facing him backwards, you know, talking to him about where you want to go. He's got this really high-pitched, annoying voice. But then, not to jump ahead in the plot, but you know, apparently if you're in a tight spot later when he needs to get away from some thugs, he just rips out the Johnny robot, and you know, he can just take things in his own hands. But you know, later on,
I could just see Elon Musk like taking notes, like put extra rivets on Johnny car dummy.
But later on, you know, he wants to ditch the cab, and he hasn't paid his fare, so apparently there's a kill switch engaged on this Johnny cab that's gonna try to run him over and explode as he tries to get away because he didn't pay his fare. So it doesn't spell out a good future for our driverless cars.
The best part is it also has a sick sense of humor, because after it tries to run him down and then self-destructs, it says, "Hope you enjoyed your ride."
Right. Yes. He's a psychopathic Johnny.
Or there was just a wandering demon that possessed him in his final moments. That could have happened too.
That was probably it.
That's right.
Yeah, so where were we in this plot?
Well, he gets out of the Johnny cab, and of course his old buddy from work sees him. And this is really where the movie starts to diverge from the story and go into Paul Verhoeven and Arnold Schwarzeneggerville, because this is where I want to call them the muscles from Brussels, but that's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
But man, Schwarzenegger's muscles are so much bigger than Van Damme's.
Oh yeah.
Why doesn't he?
His muscles could eat Van Damme's muscles for breakfast.
That's right. Why doesn't he get to have muscles in his nickname? I mean, no offense against Van Damme. Van Damme can do like higher kicks. You know why? He is a way higher vertical than Schwarzenegger.
You know why? Because he doesn't need it. He's just Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger. Come on.
He's just Arnie. He doesn't need a nickname.
I did want to go back and talk about the Sharon Stone situation, you know, because
it's a situation.
It's a situation. Because we find out that Michael Ironside plays Richter, who is a henchman of Cohagen, who's like the leader on Mars, who's trying to stop a rebellion. And he's like his main lackey. We find out that Sharon Stone is actually married to Michael Ironside, Richter.
That's right.
And that she is just double agent. Yeah, she's just playing Arnie for all he's worth, just trying to, you know, keep him cool. They've deleted his memories, so, you know, when he goes back to the house after killing a bunch of people.
That's right.
She's like, "Oh, it was all in your head. Is this in my head?" He shows her the bloody hands.
That's like my favorite. Like, this is a movie with, you know, we didn't totally pay attention to continuity, because whenever his old work buddy confronts him and we find out he's working for the bad guys, Arnie kills all these henchmen. We get like this really gnarly stylized shot after he shoots the last guy of him, with all these blood stains and bodies everywhere.
Oh man, and the blood squibs are just blowing out of their bodies.
It's such a great wide shot.
It's 1990.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful piece of art that like just launched a million new retro wave channels. But
back before they did everything CGI, like all the blood work was, you know, real fake blood and stuff, which is cool.
That's right. And he gets home and he's got blood all over him and all over his hands. And he grabs her multiple times. He's like, he gets his hands all over her.
She doesn't have a spot on her.
Yeah, he's like, is this a dream? You know, and he holds his bloody hands up, and her shoulders it's like she just took 28 showers. She's just clean, glistening, pristine, clean.
But then they go on to have the, you know, martial arts showdown where she, I want to say, like, kicks him in the crotch like 5 times. She kicks him in the nuts
like 1,000
times in this movie. Like, I just felt bad for his nuts after this. Like, dear Lord.
Whoever was the stunt double who got nut kicked in this film.
Yeah.
He earned every penny of that.
No, it was apparently Arnold, but wearing a cup. So, yeah, he was prepared to protect his genitals for sure.
Good job,
but,
Arnie.
You know, I'm looking at that. I'm like, man, she steps on this dude's crotch. She must have some really deep-seated resentment for having to play this bodybuilder's wife instead of like balding, crotchety looking Michael Ironside. Like, who are you gonna pick, Artie or Michael Ironside?
There's like a second film in the background of this film, which is the romantic life of Ironside and Sharon Stone, and whether or not she actually kind of does have a thing for Arnie, because Ironside's other lackey, he's like what Ironside is to the main boss of the film. Mm-hmm. This dude is to Ironside, and he's like, oh man, I wonder if she's loving boning Arnie. You
right?
know?
Yeah,
he's like elbowing him, like,
you really think
Arnie's
so?
boning your wife,
the whole time. Yeah, which again, that situation is like, okay, you're going to make your wife or sign your wife up, or you're gonna let her go pretend to be the wife of bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger so that she can keep him in line, like make sure he doesn't go to Mars.
Was his idea. It was Cohagen. It was the big boss's idea, because this is just a video game for me.
Right. And the big boss is like, hey, your wife's hot, you go make her be bodybuilder guys the guy we deleted his memories. Or even further on in the plot, Hauser, who we later find out isn't Hauser
is Arnie.
Hauser is Quaid.
Oh wait, don't give away the big twist yet.
Should we not give it away?
Not
okay.
yet.
All right. Well, we'll come back to that.
Right now, he's still
because
Quaid.
I'm thinking maybe Hauser had some plans for who his wife was going to be, so he's like, "Oh yeah,
really?
I'll get Richter's wife." So maybe that was built into it.
Interesting.
Because there's got to be a reason for her, of all people, to be his pretend wife. I don't know. It's just kind of like, random. Like, Cohagen's like, I'll make my lackey's wife go and be, or maybe she's an agent too, but they're married, working for
Have
Cohagen.
you ever seen anyone have that much accuracy in nut kicking? Who else is he going to get at that point?
That's true. She's a lethal weapon.
She's like 19 for 19 in nut kick.
Yes.
She never misses any nuts that she aims for. Who else are you going to pick?
So, yeah, that's a questionable situation for sure. Also questionable is the public nature of them trying to capture this man who is apparently a secret agent.
The collateral damage is insane.
Yeah, that they're trying to reel him back in to either at this point Richter looks like he's trying to kill him. Cohagen wants to bring him in alive, but Richter's gone rogue. But yeah, the amount of shooting in public, killing innocent people, bullets flying all over the place, all over the subway. There's a ridiculous questionableness there to their methods. There's
a scene in the shootout where there's an escalator. It's an up escalator, and it's full. Every step has two
and they're
people
just
on it.
firing at random, trying to kill
there are
this guy.
guys at top and at the bottom with submachine guns. Arnie's in the middle, and they're firing from the top and the bottom at him.
Yes,
I had to watch it twice because at one point,
how did not everybody die?
Well, a lot of people do, and at one point, Arnie has a human shield
that he
uses to great effect, and I was like, "Wait, was that one of the bad guys that he
killed?"
No, it was just someone that got shot.
It was an
he
innocent
just repurposed
bystander.
him.
Yes, that was probably one of the most outrageous moments of the film for a hero, to grab a random bystander and then use him as a meat shield. And he doesn't just get shot once or twice. He is literally ripped to shreds with bullets, and then he throws him down the escalator at the goons trying to catch him.
It's the most useful. It's actually, there is an alternate title for Dick's story whenever he had some other ideas, and it was actually, we can repurpose it for you wholesale, and it was about stuff you can do to your corpse. No, I'm just making that up.
It wasn't called Meat Shield? Dang. But yeah, they do this in the most public way possible, and yeah, I just felt bad for that poor guy.
That's right.
That got used.
But through a few other mishaps, eventually he gets to Mars. He gets there. Is there anything else? I mean, I'm kind of jumping a few little plot points there. There's some really great body horror involving his nostrils, and some silly humor involving some rats. You want to talk about that?
I wanted to talk about the rats because even the rats aren't safe from these guys with guns, because not only are they shooting everybody in public, once they find the rat who has been used as a decoy, they just put a big bullet through the rat as well.
At one point, Arnie finds out that he's got a tracker in his brain, and he gets a device to pull it out, and then he puts it in some food, which some rats eat. and we get a great cut of the gun getting pointed at a rat, and then we cut to a computer screen that's near the rat and a gunshot sound and just peanut butter jelly filling just splattering all over the
obviously
the
grape
monitor.
jelly just thrown at the computer.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we
Questionable amount of rat blood in that rat. So.
yeah. And then Arnie gets to Mars.
Yeah, and talking about mishaps on Mars and the recklessness of these goons chasing him, they also shoot within a contained atmosphere. They're inside a dome on Mars, where the dome is protecting them from the harsh, unlivable atmosphere outside in Mars. But yet they're going to shoot their guns off everywhere possible and blow a hole in the dome and then get people like sucked out and they're almost killed. And Arnie gets away, of course.
Now, I really enjoy this movie, and I won't give my score yet. I like it a lot, and I think there's a lot of great things about it. But
yes.
There's an inherent silliness to that entire scene.
Obviously.
And it's not just like Paul Verhoeven being goofy, because, in all of his films, there's like just a little slyness and some winking. I mean, this guy did Showgirls and Starship Troopers and RoboCop.
Yeah.
But, okay, so...
And I wanted to make sure that I've said all that in goodwill, with goodwill and good nature, that I'm not saying that as a critique of this movie. Obviously, we rip on these movies, these 90s movies.
Yes, you're just saying that you're saying that's in line with the collateral damage of The Henchman.
Right. That's ridiculousness of this movie. Obviously, we're having fun with it. I'm not saying that as like a genuine critique of this film.
Yes, myself either.
Right.
It's just a part of it's a part of the world of Total Recall.
Right.
It's established and it's consistent.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I'm with you. I'm not critiquing that, but I will critique just the gratuitous silliness of the scene where Schwarzenegger arrives on Mars in a old lady suit.
Right.
He's dressed in, and it's like a full prosthetic. Like, I don't understand what it's supposed to be. It's
a fat old lady in a yellow dress.
So he shows up, and he's asked, how long are you going to be on Mars? And the only thing that he can say is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
that's apparently the only thing programmed
that's
for
right.
him to say.
So this just happens to be whenever Michael Ironside, who's playing Richter, and his group shows up at the same time that Arnie does in disguise, and they're walking by, and for some reason Arnie can't stop saying 2 weeks over and over again because he's malfunctioning in his suit or whatever. I don't understand what's happening. I think they just paid a lot of money for this prosthetic effect.
And they wanted to use it.
That's right. And they wanted to use it.
It's a really cool prosthetic effect, too, where like the pieces of the head come out and he's squished inside.
He is. Who's under the old lady suit but Arnie?
Of course.
Saying 2 weeks, 2 weeks. But then the suit's gone, and what happens? But he pulls off the prosthetic head and says, "Kitch." Then he throws the head.
And it explodes.
At the bad. Well, he throws it at the bad guys. And then for some reason, even though the head could only say 2 weeks, 2 weeks, all of a sudden the head has the sudden ability to say the phrase, "Get ready for a surprise."
Well, he had obviously programmed that in as well.
And then it explodes and takes out some more henchmen. But it's just so Looney Tunes. And that is tonally inconsistent because the movie has been over-the-top violent up to this point, which is fine because it's consistent. But that was so silly, and I get like the effect was cool, and they probably spent a ton of money on it that they're not going to cut that out.
Yeah, I mean,
but
everybody wants to see the exploding fat lady heads.
Yeah.
I mean, in what other movie do you get to see Arnold inside a fat suit of an old lady in a yellow dress and running around in a towel on his head as a turban?
That's right, because before he takes the sensor out of his head, he puts a wet towel turban on his head to stop the signal from being read. But did we really need "Get ready for a surprise"?
Well, like I said, he obviously programmed that into the head. Like there was a button, a kill switch on the back of the head before he threw it to, of course, he planned that the henchmen would get him and that he would need to throw the head at them.
He has that much foresight.
Right, yeah. I mean, he's got these dreams. I mean,
he has these dreams about Mars, and he
knows
knows
prophetic. He knew this was going to happen.
I need a bomb head.
I need a bomb head.
That says "Get ready for a surprise."
Yes.
And it just goes full Looney Tunes for like 3 straight minutes, and the rest of the film doesn't have this tone at all.
Yeah.
There are a few other silly things in some of the later action scenes, but I'll wait till we get to that. All to say, and also, I don't even know if we needed an action scene there because it comes right after some much better action scenes.
How could you question the need for an action scene, especially in this movie?
Well, it's like he's
every moment is an action scene.
He just landed on Mars, like he's about to like go to this hotel and like start investigating his new identity. Like, I almost rather if he just got there and started investigating.
But how else would he get away without the exploding head? I mean,
well, how about he just gets there before the other guys and they're on his trail, but he's already ahead of them, and then they catch up to him after that.
Needed some action there. That's all I can say.
Every
second, every moment possible.
It's been 30 seconds since something exploded.
Exactly. We need another explosion.
Oh.
And they needed to tease right there that if the dome got shattered, that people would get sucked out and killed.
It does establish that.
Right.
You're right. They maybe could have done something else to establish that. That wasn't just straight up like Roadrunner running off the cliff and Coyote chasing him and falling off of it.
Right.
And
it was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Come on.
But at this point, I think I'll go on a little tangent and say that this is kind of what differentiates this from what I would say would be a truly great adaptation of a Philip K. Dick piece. And just like, I'd say this is a really good one. I love this movie.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's a great film. I would say Blade Runner is, which...
Yeah. I'm probably there with you. It's really good. It's well done. It's fun. It's silly and ridiculous, but it's still well made. But yeah, I wouldn't say like, oh, this is a great film.
Yeah, like Ridley Scott's Blade Runner is just a piece of art, and it's a lot more serious in tone, obviously. It's almost a completely different thing, but there are a lot of similarities in the setting, even in the story, and things going on, just like
questioning reality and
questioning reality, even just noise and news you hear in the background about wars going on in other areas. And then
this could totally live in the same universe,
exactly,
but a much more hyped up, violent Arnie universe.
Well, even Blade Runner, I remember watching it as a kid. I mean, the nail through the hand scene, I almost feel like that made me wince harder than anything that happens in this movie. It's just tonally so different. And you could totally film just the story of Total Recall, maybe with a different actor and a different director, and get that Blade Runner tone.
Maybe we'll get that in the 2012 remake. One of us might find out.
Colin Farrell could go to that Harrison Ford place.
He could.
Is Rutger Hauer in the 2012 Total Recall?
I doubt it.
Probably
it does have that kind of like grayed out blue, dead looking look to the 2012 remake. That here in 1990, it has a very early 90s, late 80s, like, I don't know, just that orange kind of look to it.
It's just a really, that's one thing that has stood the test of time with this movie as far as people just coming back to it nostalgically. It's just like, even I think of like the video game Flashback, which takes a lot from the aesthetics of this movie. I think of like even musically, this movie has the really great Jerry Goldsmith score.
Yeah.
That it has electronic elements, but it is a really symphonic score. And dang, I'm getting like really scholarly with this.
We're getting really scholarly.
Yeah, that's right. But
back to the rats and the exploding.
Yeah, and the turds. We haven't talked about the poo yet, and there's not poo in this movie.
Oh wait, I was going to say, where was the poo?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but even if you look at like the aesthetics, if you go on YouTube and listen to kind of like more like perturbator type electronic, like throbbing music, that's like a throwback to 80s synth stuff. You'll see aesthetics from this movie, even though you won't really see, hear the kind of music that's featured in this movie.
Yeah, it holds up for sure. It's well made. And another I wanted to talk about, since we're on the subject of the themes of this movie and the well made aspect of this movie, I did want to talk about something that I thought was really cool and probably one of my favorite scenes in the film. This is when he's in the hotel and then mysteriously Sharon Stone and the doctor from Total Recall show up. And they start to try and convince him, hey, you're just in a dream. We're here to pull you out. You need to take this pill, which, Matrix influence, I'm sure. But I thought that was a really cool moment where you're playing with the audience. And this is about midway through where they show up and you're not sure for a moment, is he really in a dream or is this just, again, Cohagen and them trying to capture him?
Oh, yeah. And the movie really consistently keeps that up, even to the last shot.
That's a great...
the Blade Runner, too, with whether
Right.
or not Deckard is a replicant.
Yes, so that's a great aspect of this film that I think holds up and is really well done.
All those nut kicks, too.
All those nut kicks.
Like,
yeah.
Wake up, I'm kicking you in the nuts to wake you up.
And then it's really cool how there's multiple times in the film where they kind of spell out what's going to happen next. They like when he goes to Total Recall, the recall place in the beginning, they're like, you're going to kill you're going to kill the bad guys, you're going to save the day, you're going to save the planet. And then that's basically like what happens, right?
It all happens. And perhaps the biggest, whoa, wait a minute, is this real?
Mm-hmm.
Or is he still sitting in that chair back in Recall, is that whenever he's shown women to select and he gives the type of woman that he would like, he's shown an image of a woman, and sure enough, when he's on Mars in the movie, after the hotel, when he makes his way to kind of the Mars underbelly, to kind of a seedy club where the mutants hang out, and he goes to a club, it's the Last Resort,
Mm-hmm.
where kind of where the prostitutes hang out.
Yeah.
He meets his old love there, or
Melina.
And sure enough, Melina, she's the same woman that was on the screen back at
also
Recall.
the same woman from his dreams, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a question there.
Well, it makes sense that if it's real, if what's happening is real, it would make sense that he was dreaming about her because he knew her before when he was on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't make sense why she's on the screen at Recall unless they did so much research that they went to Mars and took pictures of women there to base their memories upon.
Right.
Which that could be a thing.
So she was just a picture from a picture.
Yeah. Or, it's all from Recall and it's all a dream.
Yes. Well, yeah, there's a moment, let me find it, where the doctor even, says this is what's going to happen if you don't take this pill.
Oh, I get what you're saying. If it was a dream before you went to Recall, yeah,
right.
That's true. There's a lot of things in the movie that throw it in a doubt, but then you're like, oh, well, wait, what about this thing? Oh, but this thing happened before this thing. It just keeps throwing everything into doubt. So that's a deeper layer. So even though, there are lots of nut kicks and there are exploding heads that do Looney Tunes things, there's also this deeper layer throughout the film, 7 or 8 deeper layers.
Oh, yeah. Talking about that. So Dr. Edgemar, played by Roy Brock-Smith, he tells Quaid, if Quaid kills him, the walls of reality will come crashing down. And then moments later, the walls really do come crashing down as the Cohagen team infiltrates the room. He says that Quaid will believe himself the savior of the resistance, only to discover that he is in fact Cohagen's bosom buddy, which is exactly what happens. And then he says that he'll have visions of a alien civilization, and that ultimately he'll be lobotomized in the end.
So here's what happens in the movie. He meets up with Melina, and through a series of adventures and misadventures, I don't want to get into too many details. Let's just say that he finds out that, yes, he was a tool of Cohagen the whole time, and that before he went to Recall, he was Hauser.
It was Hauser.
And Hauser was Cohagen's best buddy.
His bosom buddy.
Yeah, that's right. And he became Quaid. This was all a very convoluted plot that had to work out perfectly.
Yeah, how that worked, I don't know exactly, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like a Joker in Batman or whoever, what's his face, old feller in Skyfall that Javier Bardem played. He has all these plots and machinations that involve like subway trains falling through the tracks at exactly the right millisecond to make his plans work.
Feels like
That's
here.
what it feels like here in this movie.
Yeah, because all right, so they were going to put Quaid's personality in Hauser so that he thinks that he's just Quaid, but then he discovers that he's a secret agent so that he'll ultimately go to Mars and lead Cohagen right to Kuato, which we haven't talked about, the rebellion leader.
Kuato is leading a rebellion on Mars, because here's the deal with Mars. There's only a limited amount of air because everyone has to live in these domes because there's not a breathable atmosphere in Mars, so everyone's beholden to Cohagen because he owns the domes, he owns the air,
Right.
and he sets all the rules. And he's also a sociopath, which doesn't bode well for everyone who lives in the domes. So
Because he can just turn off their air.
that's right.
Even though Arnie insists, give these people air.
he just doesn't listen, no matter how he says it.
Yeah, no matter.
So that's right. And it turns out he goes and he finds Quato. How would you say his name?
Kuato? I think they say...
Quato? I don't feel like it's... Because when Arnie says something and then someone else says something, it's never the way the other person says it.
Yes. Kuato is a mutant baby, a psychic mutant baby that lives on one of the rebel captain's body.
That's
And,
right.
he
It's
tells
like
him,
straight out of The Thing. It's some great like John Carpenter-esque special effects work, practical work. It's
some
disgusting.
really creepy stuff here. And he tells him, open your mind. Open your mind, says the psychic mutant baby rebel leader attached to a man's chest. So, yes.
My favorite is later on. You know, it's all been a big old scheme for Arnie to lead the bad guys to Quato, and he doesn't realize it. But I like that they make it even grosser because Quato gets shot in the head.
Oh, yes.
So he's not only like a greasy mutant baby shooting out of this guy's belly.
Yeah, and he's covered in this slime or something.
Now he's a bloody one with an open wound on his forehead, so he gets even grosser.
Yep.
So anyway, that happens. There's a great betrayal after we get to Quato. Arnie was being followed.
Oh, should we talk about Sharon Stone? I think she's off at this point, right?
Oh,
Before
she's
this
dead.
happened.
She's a corpse. Yeah. After the old this is really a dream ploy doesn't work out because the doctor's sweating, and whenever Arnie sees that bead of sweat. Yes. He immediately knows this isn't right. Something's wrong. You're
he
sweating.
Wouldn't sweat in a dream.
Exactly. That's the tell.
Right. That's the tell.
Just notice next time you're dreaming, no one is sweating. If someone's sweating, something's wrong.
Right. But yes, then they have a showdown like out in the hotel lobby where Melina shows up, and then Sharon Stone and the Melina character are fighting it out. They're duking it out. And then
Sharon Stone bests Melina. She beats her. You know,
it's a good fight.
She can't kick her in the nuts, but she can kick her everywhere else, and she takes her down.
That's right. That's her. I was gonna say if she lost, that would have been her weakness.
That's right. Oh,
I couldn't kick in the nuts.
Exactly. But thankfully, Arnie has no problem with shooting an unarmed woman in the face with a gun.
No, she has a gun, right?
That's right. She does.
Yeah, she's trying to. Yeah, she bests Melina, and then she's trying to, sweet talk Arnie again, and then pulls out the gun to shoot him, and then he gets to her first.
Yeah, cut that part out later. I was wrong.
Right.
No, it's really satisfying because he has that great line
one-liner.
after he shoots her.
Consider that a divorce.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was written as consider this a divorce, and then he shoots her. But they thought that was too cold-blooded for Arnold. So
I like that they both get a diss at her dead body too, because he says consider that a divorce, and then Melina's like, "What a bitch!"
Right.
Good
old '90s comeback.
That's right. They both get to diss her.
Yeah.
So she's dead. She's dead before we get to Quato. She's gone.
Right.
She's out of the picture.
Yes.
But she got to do Basic Instinct with Verhoeven a couple years after this, so she was fine.
Yeah.
It all worked out for old Sharon.
Yeah, and speaking of Verhoeven and RoboCop, apparently they wanted Arnold for RoboCop too, but it didn't work out. But that wouldn't that have been really cool? I don't know if I want to see RoboCop any different than it is, but I don't know. That's just a thought fantasy. Just stepping off into that for a minute.
Yeah, Arnold and Starship Troopers too.
That would have made that movie a lot better because that was pretty terrible from what I remember.
Oh. We might have to watch that one somewhere down the line.
Maybe that was in the 90s, right?
Yeah,
late
Casper
90s.
Van Dien, man. He could have been the next Arnold. It just didn't work out.
Nah. So yeah, apparently the core of Mars is made of ice, and there's a reactor that the aliens have built.
There were aliens on Mars.
Yes, there were. Yeah, and Kuato gave Arnie these visions of the aliens in their reactor and what he needs to do to save the planet. And so I don't understand the science of this, or if it's completely
it doesn't matter
if it's true to science. But apparently, the core of Mars is made of ice, so the reactor can be turned on to turn everything into oxygen, and then somehow in 30 seconds flat, Mars is an atmosphere. So
all the things that happen in those 30 seconds are incredible.
That's science.
That's right. Alien science.
Aliens.
So leading up to that, we get lots of chases. We haven't even mentioned.
Sorry, did I jump ahead?
Well, should we talk about I got 5 kids? Because I don't remember his name.
Benny, the cab driver.
I just like to call him I got 5 kids.
I got 5 kids, Benny, the cab driver.
We find out later on he not only has no kids, he's not even married. He was tricking Arnie the whole time. He was an agent of Cohagen.
Right. He is a mutant. He's got that creepy, like, praying mantis hand going on.
Yeah, which makes him even more traitorous.
Right.
Traitorous to the mutants.
He's traitorous to the mutants. But yeah, then he just totally tries to run over Arnie with a drill car, and Arnold has probably the worst/best line of the movie, where he picks up an industrial drill and drills through the door of the car, yelling, "Screw you!" and kills Benny with the drill.
I'm glad you caught that too, because I think you texted "screw you" to me, and I was like, "Wait, does he say that on that scene where he screws him to death?" And
yes,
I went back and watched it, and I was like, "Oh, he does."
He screws him to death with the drill, of course, yelling "screw you."
This is a Paul Verhoeven movie, but we don't quite go there. It is It is the drill that he screws him to death.
Apparently, this was an X-rated movie before. The final cut. They had to cut out a lot of more gruesome violence to get it to R, and the rumor is that one of the scenes cut out was the drill literally like busting the guts of Benny, and like you see his guts pouring out and stuff, and it was really gross.
Because we just get kind of a desaturated spray where it could almost be the oil spraying out of the machine, because he cuts the little oil line before he cuts Benny.
And then you just get like a headshot of Benny, and his hands are held up like ah.
Then we're magically in the alien reactor after that scene. And someone else is magically there too. It's our old buddy Michael Ironside, aka Richter. And he's got a nice little squadron of soldiers there. But we've got a nice callback to earlier in the film. All part of Cohagen's plan. Arnie runs into this video message that sends him to a briefcase that has some tools to help him, which was all part of Cohagen's plan. We find
Cohagen messed up because he gave him the hologram bracelet.
That's right. So Arnie uses this hologram bracelet to help him. Take out these henchmen, and he takes out all the henchmen with the help of Melina.
Right.
Though
even though they're shooting a hologram, but the bullets aren't going through the hologram to the other agents that are on the other side of the hologram.
Except when it's convenient to the movie.
Exactly.
So for the first 3 or 4...
Melina does that.
That's
at some
right.
point.
The first 3 or 4 times they shoot at the hologram, we're like, why aren't the bullets hitting him? They're about 3 feet apart from each other, shooting directly at each other, and there's no damage to any of the soldiers. It's just not hitting the hologram, and you're like, why isn't it doing that? But then, the 4th or 5th time they do that, it does happen, and they do hit each other.
But yeah, even Arnold's hologram can stop bullets. So
they just went right through Melina's.
Right.
So through this trickery and Arnold's muscles and Arnold and Melina's skills with submachine guns, they kill all the henchmen except for Richter. And we get a great fight on an elevator where, obviously Michael Ironside is an even match with Schwarzenegger. Sure. We were expecting a great fight to a draw between the two of them, but somehow, I don't know how, Schwarzenegger gets the best of him. And,
just barely.
And the fight ends with a decapitation.
Well, is it a decapitation when an elevator shaft cuts off your arms? Would you call that? Is that?
Oh yeah.
Is that technically a decapitation?
Well, then he falls like 500 feet after that. So
yeah,
you can call it a lot of things, I guess.
Right.
But
it's Total Recall.
I'll give you the courtesy of the one-liner that Schwarzenegger gets after that.
He throws the arms down after him and says, "See you at the party, Richter," which. They mentioned a party earlier in the film, but there's probably not going to be a party now because, Cohagen's trying to stop Arnold from turning on the reactor. But yeah, somehow there's some context of a party at somewhere, and he yells that
Where
at
was
him,
the party going to be? I got the feeling there never was going to be a party.
Oh, maybe it was another trick.
Maybe so.
But yeah, earlier Ironside says, like, see you at the party, because they're about to brainwash him and turn him back into Hauser.
Yeah, and Cohagen tells him, make sure you tell him after the wipe to come to the party, because he probably won't remember, because we're about to wipe his memory.
Yeah, it was somewhere, but then they got loose and the party got nixed because they had to go stop Arnold. So,
but it's really
no party for Richter.
That
should be the hashtag for this movie.
It was an important callback.
Right. It was
Remember we talked about a party 20 minutes ago?
Yes, it was super important.
So we end up at the top of this alien reactor, and then we get, an even more evenly matched fight. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger at his muscular peak versus a 90-year-old man.
Yeah, Cohagen, which I love. Again, just like, earlier in the film, he used the guy as the meat shield. He's pretty, rough and tumble with the safety of anybody in this movie except for himself. I mean, because, sometimes you have a movie where the good guy is noble and he tries not to kill the bad guy in the end. Here, they turn on the reactor and all the air is like, trying to suck them out, and they're having to grab onto the reactor so they don't flow away. At one point, he just grabs Cohagen and throws him, and he just flies off in this, shredded
it's
somewhere.
It's so cold.
Yeah, it's cold.
There's no reason for it.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason for it, but he's Arnold. It's cold-blooded for sure.
The ease with which he did it made me stop and consider numerous points in the movie where I realized again, okay, this definitely went through 42 drafts and isn't up to the quality of, say, a Blade Runner. Because I started thinking, okay, why do they have mutants in this movie again? Oh yeah, because they said all the children were born here, in the domes. The air was all funky,
right.
And they weren't under the sun, so they were born mutants. But then I started thinking, wait a minute,
because that's exactly what makes you a mutant, is living in an oxygen deprived state.
Exactly.
You end up with weird Squidbilly face or whatever.
Right. So. Not only that, but there's the Dean Norris mutant who's 40, and then mutants who are parents now to mutant children.
Right.
And then
don't question the science. Come on.
I was like, wait a minute, how long have people been on Mars? But then you find out the first settlers are buried under there, and Cohagen profited off of their work, so he was there. So how old is Cohagen? Yeah. He's got to be 200 years old. What kind of sense does that make? What is the timeline here?
He's breathing that sweet alien air.
That's right.
Keeping him alive.
That's right. His dome air is not causing mutations, except the one that lets him live forever.
He's got the special air, the blue velvet oxygen tank air. Calling back to Dennis Hopper and Super Mario Brothers and the mutant dinosaur
nice
people
connection.
there. Ooh, connection.
Oh, but now that the air that he's breathing when he gets sucked out onto the Martian soil is killing him very rapidly, and we get the great eyeballs popping out of the head effect. It's so gnarly. Yes. And it's 1990 now, but it's really an early 90s/80s horror effect.
Right.
It's a great practical effect. It's disgusting.
It really makes you nostalgic for those kind of effects going back to that time, and they just don't do that anymore.
It's just a can of SpaghettiOs getting thrown at the wall. It's great.
But yeah, all the body horror stuff, all the rubber masks and all that. It's awesome. I love seeing that stuff.
Yeah, it's so good. But Arnie, before he and Melina get sucked out, he does put his hand on the alien reactor in the shape of an alien hand, which to
somehow it works.
That's right. To turn on this reactor, you just have to put your hand on it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be an alien hand. And just,
thankfully,
put your fingers a certain way that look like an alien hand.
That's right. As you said earlier, it works so quickly and transforms the atmosphere so quickly that Arnold and Melina get shot out onto the ground. Their eyeballs start getting sucked out of their head. But thankfully, the atmosphere is purified in a quick enough amount of time to where their eyeballs get sucked back.
Yes,
their heads and
they're completely normal. Because 30 seconds before that, Cohagen gets sucked out, and then what is he? I forget. He explodes or he dies because there's no air. His eyeballs are popping and everything crazy. And then it's literally 20 seconds later, they're sucked out, but then magically, of course,
aliens,
the whole
man.
atmosphere has changed.
It's aliens.
It's aliens.
So everyone,
it's a good fallback to have. Oh yeah, how did that happen in that movie? Aliens. That's right.
That's right. So everyone who was air deprived before, especially the mutants, because we didn't mention it before, Cohagen, to punish them for helping I was about to say Richter. Just because he says Richter so well,
Yeah.
I want to call him Richter because he looks like a Richter, not a Quaid or a Hauser.
Right.
Which actually, it's great in the Philip K. Dick story. The protagonist's name is actually Quail.
Oh,
which
yeah.
can you imagine Arnie's character being named Quail?
Yeah.
Quail. You couldn't even say it. Quail.
You need that hard consonant at the
Quaid.
end. Quaid and Hauser.
That's right.
Yeah.
They were punished for helping him earlier in the movie, so all their air got stolen, and they're on the death's doorstep. But they get oxygen now because all the windows blow out from the outpouring of atmosphere.
Yeah, and the millions of shards of glass, just shattered everywhere on top of these people.
Harm no one.
Harm no cuts, no blood anywhere.
Despite all the collateral damage earlier, where
Right.
stray bullets kill millions of people.
Tons and tons of glass everywhere, but we're just going to stand up unharmed and breathe the new fresh air. So
That's right. Everyone walks out. There's blue skies. Everything's great. It's if you're watching this on any digital thing, you look and you've got about 6 minutes left, including time for credits. So this looks like the end. Arnie and Melina are standing on near the top of this mountain. I'm gonna guess it's Mons Olympus. I don't know. That was what I guessed it was. They don't ever
right,
come
but
out
it
and say
calls
it.
back to the dream earlier in the beginning of the film, right? Where he's
Exactly.
standing with her.
Yes, but now the sky isn't red anymore. It's blue. It's a beautiful blue sky. And
what do they say to each other?
they're about to kiss, but then he's like, "Oh no, what if this is a dream?" And what did she tell him?
Well, she says well, kiss me now before you wake up, or something
then,
like that.
And then they kiss, and what happens?
Fades to white.
That's right, and it looks like the white is like shooting out from the center of the screen right as it fades,
Right.
as if he's being possibly lobotomized,
Yes.
or maybe it's just a filmmaking technique.
Yeah, but it
Who
leaves
knows?
the question open, which is really fun, really
That's
good.
right. Was it a dream or was it not?
Yes.
And it's not quite as deep as was Deckard a replicant, which Ridley Scott ruined by saying that he was a replicant. And,
Thanks, Ridley.
Yeah, and then we got Blade Runner 2049, which actually I thought was brilliant. That was one of my favorite movies this decade.
I liked a lot of it, but I had some
Get out of your chair and leave.
Had some
right
problems with it.
Now get out of here.
Come on, the replicant army and third act out of nowhere. Are they going to really, now they're going to make another one that didn't make any money? That's not going to happen. So that's a plot arc that
Just leave.
Doesn't work.
Just leave.
All right.
You don't like it.
Anyway, but yeah, this was a good movie. I gave it 4 out of 5. I thought it was a whole lot of fun. Ridiculous at parts, as we pointed out, but just really well made. And of course, just seeing Arnold run around ripping people's arms off and shooting guns and having a good time always helps. So I'm glad they got him and not some other guy who just played an accountant. Sorry, Nick, because you're an accountant. But yeah. But you could be Arnold. I mean, you're going on the marathon. You're running marathons and bodybuilding one day, right?
Yeah, Arnold. Have you ever run a marathon before?
That's
I ran
right.
27 miles the other night, Arnold.
It's about endurance, brah.
That's right, brah.
Calling back to Point Break.
Yeah, I give it the same score, man.
4 out of 5.
It's such a fun movie. I mean, it is really stupid at parts, but it's like that just holds it back from being like great, but it's still awesome. It's still so good. In fact, I was thinking about like the score table where Point Break. It was like, I'd say that kind of movie. I can't really say out of 10. I don't think that's like accomplishable for what this movie set out to do. I said it got an 8 out of 8, but saying that this is also an adaptation of a Philip K. Dick like Blade Runner, which I would give a 10 to, I have to say that this is out of 10, so I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Because I mean, outside of some silliness, I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for what it is, being like a really over-the-top, kind of ridiculous sci-fi movie, it works on all the levels that it's trying to work on. Again, we pointed out some of the questionable aspects of the characters' decisions, but I think all that just makes it more fun.
That's right. I think Verhoeven as a director, and gosh, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I grew up in in a really rural area where everyone just liked to cow tip while I stayed inside and watched movies. So no one was telling me how to pronounce the people in the credits names. Hopefully that's how you say it.
Come cow tip, Nick. Stop watching that Total Recall.
Leave me alone. One day I'm going to be as strong as Arnie. He's got a taste for the satirical, and he likes trash. He's got a taste for the trash, which
pulp.
there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, this is the guy that made Showgirls.
Yeah.
he just likes to get a little trash in there, and that's fine. That's what he does. It's not like it ruins the movie to have some trashiness in it.
He'd probably not want people to remember Showgirls, though. I mean, come on.
I don't know. I don't think he looks back shamefully on that
You
movie.
don't think so?
Yeah, I don't know.
Total Recall, Starship Troopers. Let's just skip over that one. Only made awesome action films. Nothing else.
That's all I did.
I swear.
RoboCop, Total Recall.
Yep, that's it. That's all. Stop there. Well, we'll move on to our trivia battle, unless you had any other thoughts.
No, man, that's all I got to say. I really enjoyed the movie. It put me, again, like, I really like that kind of, like, flashback aesthetic, just that kind of retro, like, you know, you're in, like, this gritty, like, futuristic city thing, and then all of a sudden you're in, like, this weird alien landscape thing. You know, Flashback, that video game, I don't know if you played it. It's kind of got the same vibe, but instead of, like, the Martian, like, red landscape, you know, he kind of goes from, because the character has amnesia as well, he goes from a rainforest to this kind of gritty cyberpunk city. Mm-hmm. So it's got similarities to that. I just, you know, I like that whole vibe. You know, it reminds me of being a preteen too. So
yeah, some similar things that Super Mario Brothers was going for, but just couldn't quite get there. So yeah, I had to watch that due to my failure on the last trivia round. But we'll see now who's gonna win our trivia battle for today and have to watch the Total Recall
You've
remake.
got anger on your side, so I feel like it's going to be me. I hope it's not bad.
All right, so for this trivia battle, we have decided to go with the Arnold Schwarzenegger theme. So we have each written some questions to ask each other, and I wanted to set this up. I don't know if you remember this. So back in the early 2000s, this was kind of a rage on the internet where they had these Arnold Schwarzenegger soundboards, and people would prank call businesses or family members or whatever and use these soundboards to have like these prank call phone conversations using Arnold's voice. So I've got some pulled up here today, and I'm going to use these to aid me in my trivia round today. So let me just have Arnold introduce himself real quick. Arnold, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, hey.
Hi. Hi, honey.
Oh,
How are you?
No, not your honey. But yeah, what's up? You here today?
I want to ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay, so
I'll have them answered immediately.
okay, all right, immediately. Anyway, so yeah, people would use. Yeah, he's pushy out, that Arnold. So people, you know, like I said, they would use these soundboards, and there's some notable quotes from Arnold on here that I'm going to use, and I want to ask you. I'm going to play the quote for you, and then you're going to have to tell me what movie that quote is from.
Oh, no.
So
I'm going to do bad.
All right, so let me pull up my notes here. Okay, so this one is pretty easy. I'm going to start easy on you and see how it goes.
Get to the chopper!
Do you need to hear that one more time?
Predator.
Yeah, let me see.
Get to the chopper!
Predator.
Yeah, of course, Predator. All right, so I'll hand it over to you now, and we'll get back to the soundboard for my next turn.
I'm gonna lob you like a really a softball. It's like you're Sharon Stone and I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm standing like in a stretching position, and you could just kick me in the nuts so easy right now. Arnold Schwarzenegger's nation of birth is A, Germany. B,
oh, come
Austria.
on. This is not movie related.
C, Mars. D, Belgium.
Austria, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Super easy.
Wait, your other question.
Oh, my nuts.
Because your last trivia round, you beat me because you asked some non-movie related questions. So I want to make sure going forward you have some movie related questions here.
2 out of the next 4 are movie related.
2 out of 4.
I'll ask the movie related ones first. We'll work our way. Okay. I'll save the other 2 for last.
That
sounds, was so easy, you know.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
And
okay.
I did save the other 2 for last.
All right. So next Arnie soundbite. Here we go.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
All right. So which movie is that line from? Is that from True Lies, Eraser, Last Action Hero, or Kindergarten Cop?
Oh, man. I don't know if it's Last Action Hero or Kindergarten Cop. Who is your daddy and what does he do? I think it's Last Action Hero.
Wrong, my friend.
Kindergarten Cop?
Yeah.
Dang.
Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, no, that makes me want to jump ahead to my harder question.
How are we going to work this then?
All right.
Whoever loses the most out of 4?
Sure.
All right.
Arnie closed out the 90s with the apocalyptic action flick End of Days. Okay, wait, maybe if I talk in Arnie's voice, I can do it. What character did he portray? A, Amos Ashford. B, Jericho Kane. C, Jeremiah Austin. D, Solomon Wise.
Was it Solomon Wise?
No.
Oh, snap.
Jericho Kane.
Oh, dang. Okay, so we both missed one. Okay. I've seen that movie, but it's been so long.
It's so bad.
All right. Here is another Arnie quote for you.
There's someone in my house eating my birthday cake with my family, and it's not me.
So if you didn't catch that, there's somebody in my house eating my birthday cake, and it's not me.
I think I know this one.
All right, so is it A, Jingle All the Way, B, The Sixth Day, C, Escape Plan, or D, The Running Man?
B, The Sixth Day.
You got it. Nice. All right, so what is your next question for me?
What model Terminator did Arnie portray in the first 2 Terminator films? A, the T-700. B, the T-800. C, the T-900. D, the T-1000.
Snap. T-900?
Wrong.
Oh.
The T-800.
Ah, snap. All right, here we go.
Put that cookie down now!
Oh, I don't
All
know
right.
this one.
So is that A, Kindergarten Cop, B, Junior, C, Jingle All the Way, or D, Terminator Genesis? It's got to be Terminator Genesis.
It's either B or C. I'm going to say Jingle All the Way.
You got it.
Yes.
So does that mean I lose?
No, I'm going to give you a shot at redemption here.
Okay.
All right. In 2003, Arnold Schwarzenegger became governor of California with this candidate as the closest runner-up.
Oh, snap.
A, Cheech Marin. B, Tom McClintock. C, Gray Davis. D, Cruz Bustamante.
I have no idea. I don't think it was Cheech Marin. I mean, what kind of world do we live in? Tom McClintock.
Wrong. Cruz Bustamante. Because
Because
it was so great whenever Conan used to have the guy that does Triumph the Insult comic dog doing all the voices for everyone. He had him do Arnold, and he called him Cruz Bustapansky.
Cruz Bustamante. Oh, man.
So good.
Okay, well.
Do you have another one?
No, I'm out. So.
All right, can I ask you this last question
Sure,
then? I tell you
sure.
what, if you get this right, I'll watch it with you. We'll both watch it.
We'll both watch it.
All right, you ready?
All right. Oh, wait.
Absolutely, this time you can count on me.
All right. Okay, go ahead. Just wanted to get some more Arnold in there. Wait, this is how I feel.
Bastard.
All right, are you ready?
Right, I'm ready.
I think you're going to get this one. I just have faith in you.
Okay.
This is a callback to our first 6 episodes before
Oh,
we decided
snap.
to become a 90s podcast when we hadn't found ourselves yet.
Okay.
Number 5. In Japan, Arnold Schwarzenegger is known as Shua-chan, which means A, Lucky Captain Strongman. B, Mr. Muscles. C, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just a silly baby talk honorific. Or D, Big Uncle.
Is it A?
No!
Oh, man. Lucky Captain Strongman is perfect. That's got to be it.
What happened to you?
Sorry, what was the answer?
Let's see.
Nothing?
Yeah,
Just a silly baby
like
talk?
Silly baby talk
Ah.
honorific, yeah.
No!
Tell you what, I'm going to watch it too. Let's both... Let's both watch it because I missed a question before you missed one. So let's both watch
I
it.
obviously lost. So, 3, 4 questions. So, all right. Well, if you want to watch it, that's fine. I won't make you, but it looks like I'm going to be watching the 2012 Total Recall. So we'll see how that goes. And so now for my pick for our next show, we're going to do a full episode on 1990s Tremors.
Tremors.
the comedy horror film starring Fred Ward, Kevin Bacon, Finn Carter, directed by Ron Underwood. The plot synopsis is: natives of a small isolated town defend themselves against strange underground creatures called graboids, which are killing them one by one. So it's a comedy horror. It's PG-13. You can find it online streaming, and it's going to be a good old time. So this I feel like will hopefully fit the bill of something that's terribly ridiculous, but also enjoyable and entertaining.
I can't wait, man. It's been more than 20 years since I watched this, and my brother and I went when they got to the straight-to-video ones.
Oh yeah,
it
spawned some sequels, man,
Yeah.
and then just kept going with straight-to-video releases, like one after one.
Yeah,
but we're going back to the original.
Nice, which I mean, it's just been so long.
Yeah,
I just remember the last shot really well, and the rest of it is just kind of in limbo in my brain. So, man, great pick. I'm really excited, and
Cool.
I can't wait to see how you tie it in with Total Recall. I'm
Yes.
excited about that.
So that's our show for today. Thank you guys for listening. As always, please subscribe, and you can rate us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can check out all our episodes on our website, filmshake.buzzsprout.com. And if you have any feedback, shoot it at us at filmshakepodcast@gmail.com. And Nick, where can we find you on the interwebs if people want to connect?
thenexperiment.blogspot.com. Same place I've been for 15 years now.
Going
15
strong.
years in December.
You can have a Total Recall written review up there, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
But not Super Mario Brothers, because I didn't have to watch it.
Lucky you. All right. So we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for listening. And that's it for Film Shake for today.
See you at the party. Take it easy.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.